Okay, so here's my project 2 created on Microsoft Paint. Let's just jump right into it. So here we have the output for the third conveyor belt and the second conveyor belt, the one with the scale. We'll get to where the stop conveyor 3 timer and the stop conveyor 2 timer comes up to less later, as well with the part release timer. So I started here with a count up instruction that would go up to 10,000 times every time the stamp was lowered. So when the stamp count got done, which means when the stamp count ended up being at 10,000, the red light would turn on, indicating that a mechanic needs to come and do a routine check on it of some sort. And if it was all good, then the mechanic would just click the gray push button on the touchpad and it would restart the count. So here we have a retentive timer with the preset of 51,600,000, which is the equivalent of 8 hours. And it will time as long as the green light start light is on, which means that the machine is actually active. The only time it would turn off is when, say, the e-stop is pressed and the green light obviously turns off. So when the e-stop is pressed, I have set up an expression to take the accumulative time divided by the preset time of 8 hours, multiply it by 100, which will then give you a percentage that the machine was active during one shift. So at the end of an 8-hour shift, the user will hit the e-stop and you'll be able to see the percent time that it was active. Aside from that, the next employee that comes in after that shift to start their new shift would hit the yellow push button on the touchpad and it resets the timer. I made another retentive timer for when the stamp is either raising or lowering, which means anytime that the stamp is actually moving or active, it would time up for that. Now, this was because it'd be nice to have an overall time that the stamp was moving, maybe like a lifetime total of the stamp moving. Therefore, you'd be able to see the amount of time that it was actually moving before it failed and needed to be replaced. In that instance, you would then replace one and reset that timer. But of course, we want to store that somewhere, so I stored it in the real 2 after I divided it by 60,000, which would then give you minutes that it was active instead of milliseconds, because it just seems a lot better than having a very large number in milliseconds when it's most likely going to be running for a very long time. Now, part release timer. Now, this is where the one came in on rung 3. I have the preset at 500, which is half a second after the stamp is raising. So as soon as the stamp starts raising, it counts for 500 milliseconds, and that will activate this done tag here and actually lower the part release so that the part can move on. I did this, therefore the part doesn't start moving instantly as the stamp is still trying to raise as well. I want to give it ample time to be clear of the part before it moves on. Okay, aside from that, I decided to make an indication with a green light on the touch panel so that if real 1 was, which was the calculation of the percentage for how active the machine was during a shift, as long as it reached 80% or higher, the green light would turn on, saying that you had a good amount of time running for the machine. Now here is where the stop conveyor 3 timer and 2 timer come into play, which were in rung 1 and 2. I decided that when the stamp is raising, or sorry, is raised, for 1.5 seconds, conveyor timer 3, then it would actually shut off the belt for that much time, for the 1.5 seconds, along with the second conveyor, which is the middle one, the one with the scale. I set that to 5 seconds, as long as the lift is not raised or retracted. That's because it's a timer off, and it will turn off the belt for 5 seconds. This is just my way of making it so that the motors for the belts aren't just constantly running. Unfortunately, I didn't have much ways to test any of this out, but you could always change the time based on how long it actually does take for, for whatever reason. But that is about everything. Thank you.